second attempt on learned a couple of things from the last time. Always assume that you're alive. Think that you're alive, because then you're just straight here. Second, trying to improve, and I hope that this time it works a little bit better. We always need to leave room for improvement. So I'm very happy to have on our second edition of IDMonSite Daniel Martínek with us. Daniel is a research assistant at IDM. He actually joined us early on as a trainee, and then started to work with us since a bit more than 1 year now as a research assistant. We're very happy to have you here, Daniel. Daniel is also the Nubius Young Scientist Award winner for the Czech Republic, and we will talk a bit about the Czech Republic today, how your experiences were. You regularly go back because you write your PhD still in the Czech Republic at the West Bohemia, and we will get some insights on what the situation in the Czech Republic looks like. So Daniel, welcome. Thank you very much for doing this. And my first question would actually be, how is your daily routine since you returned to Vienna, apart from me dragging you to do a live stream on Saturday? How are things with the current situation, and how has it affected your daily life?
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for introducing me, Sebastian, and thank you also to all people who are maybe watching us on our second live stream. Yeah, I've returned with my girlfriend on Sunday noon actually, which was quite interesting because, or quite exciting, let's say, because exactly at noon on Sunday noon, I mean in the night from Sunday to Monday, the emergency situation began in the Czech Republic. So since noon from Sunday, the emergency situation was since then. It's much more difficult to cross from Germany, but also be it from Poland and Slovakia. And when it comes to the first week of the quarantine, let's say, it was completely different, of course, because we introduced at our institute home office, so I'm working from home. And also when it comes to my research, because in the framework of my research, I need to go through the documents which are located at archives, but of course the Austrian State Archives closed because of the corona crisis or because of the emergency situation. So the life is definitely much more difficult. Yeah, the only thing I can do, or we can do together with my girlfriend, is just to stay at home and maybe to go shopping for half an hour, but that's all. So yeah, we are going. Everything is possible from home, and let's see how long this situation will. How long this situation will continue.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned grocery shopping, and there is a lot of pictures floating around on the internet of empty shelves, and I experienced myself a week ago long queues in front of the checkout, and the cheap pasta is gone and the cheap meat is gone. But it's actually not really a problem. I left the house for the first time in a week today to go to the supermarket. It was very empty. The shelves were full. So I don't think it is that much of a problem in a big city like Vienna. But when you go back to the Czech Republic, you come from a small village, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would be interested how the situation on the countryside looks like in the Czech Republic, and also, of course, if there's a shortage of toilet paper.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, the village I come from in the Czech Republic, which is near to Pilsen in West Bohemia, this village has approximately 500 inhabitants. So quite small village. And yes, uh, 1 week ago, the shelves were completely empty. That's true. But the current situation is quite different. The shelves are already good, are not empty anymore, and think you need actually. And when it comes to toilet paper, there is enough toilet paper in every shop in the Czech Republic. But we have a little bit different problem because there is a or huge shortage of medical equipments.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can a little bit procedures which were taken from the Czech government because they introduced a regulation, or the Czech government introduced a regulation in the middle of this week that everyone has to wear a face mask
Mm-hmm.
or in or respirator in the best case. But unfortunately, there is a huge shortage on these medical equipment, and not on these, but also others. And even the medical staff, doctors, nurses, and other medical workforces don't have these medical equipments. So what I found interesting, or the Czech population started to produce homemade face masks. Not only, they also started to distribute these face masks produced from different textiles and different materials. They also started to distribute these through different internet campaigns to the people who needed them most. So I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
old people, to sick people, and so on. So I think I found this act as a, let's say, huge symbol of human solidarity, as we
Mm-hmm.
can say, because to be honest, I wouldn't expected something like that happening in the Czech Republic. So I think this is quite interesting and quite surprising development in the Czech Republic. But when it comes to shopping, you can buy anything you need at this very moment. And 1 week ago, the situation was definitely different.
Mm-hmm. Are regularly in contact with your family and also with your friends, and they also stay at home. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the one aspect of the measures that have been put into place. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on what the Czech government is doing to prevent the spreading, and if there are differences to the Austrian approach, for instance.
Okay. Yeah. When we start from the very beginning, the first cases, or the very first 3 cases of the positively tested on coronavirus positively tested people were reported in the Czech Republic on the 1st of March. That means like around 20 days ago. And since then, the Czech government had gradually introduced coronavirus, or
Mhm.
against the spread of the COVID disease. Uh, the Czech Republic, or the state, is currently
Mhm.
since Monday, and this emergency state is related to closing borders, of course. That means that no Czech citizens can't leave the country, but also that no tourists can't enter the Czech territory. But other restrictions as limited movement of the people, which means that you can go, of course, out in important from the important reasons, which means like go shopping, in some cases even to visit and so of course schools were closed down, restaurant, every shops, yeah, only grocery shops remain still open. And yeah, of course, every event was cancelled. That means that no culture or sports events, all this life was stopped at the beginning of this week.
And can you tell me a bit more about how the population is reacting to this? I mean, state of emergency is evoking maybe negative thoughts, especially when we look at the history of the Czech Republic. How are people reacting to this? I mean, we had today it's raining in Vienna, but the last couple of days were very sunny. People, of course, want to go outside. If we look at the situation in Germany, for instance, people seem to not really care about these measures. I read a lot of people commenting in the social media, for instance, as Bavaria introduced harsher methods, that I will not let the state or the police tell me what to do. Do you know how the situation is like in the Czech Republic? Are people okay with this? Are people obeying this measurements from the government?
Yeah, one would maybe expect that a country like Czech Republic with post-communist memory will be much more against these measures, but I think quite opposite is the reality right now. I would assess the reaction of the population on all these measures quite positively, because yeah, they are like following all these regulations introduced by the Czech government. They are actually staying home. Of course, there were some cases when people were just running outside and not listening to the regulations, but these were only a couple of cases. And what I can remember, there were like two cases. I think it was on Thursday that young people at the student dormitories in Prague were like organizing parties and so on. So of course there was a reaction from the policeman, but the situation was then solved, and they just needed to stay in their rooms and limited their social contacts. So I think the people follow the measures or the regulations quite good, and there are no such problems like in Germany, for example. And I think that in the foreseeable future there will be no such regulations as a ban on entering the public space or the ban on going outside. I think this situation is not going to come. Yesterday there was one case that one young girl, because we all know that fake news are everywhere, not only in Europe, not only in European countries, but there was one fake news that one young girl wrote on that the government is going to introduce this ban on going out from houses, but the ministries neglected this information, and no such a measure will be used in the foreseeable future because the people are reacting positively, and there are no conflicts when it comes to. So.
Yeah. This state of emergency is declared at the moment indefinitely, or is it for a certain period of time? Because in Austria, we see now that the measures that have been, the recommendations that have been given out, which are following this quite similarly, that you can go out for grocery shopping, you can go out if you need to help, you can go out if you need to see a doctor, and so on and so forth. They have prolonged this until after Easter, yesterday. So the state of emergency in Czechia is indefinitely at the moment, or does it also expire at a certain point?
This issue is quite uncertain because so what I can say right now is that the Czech Minister of Healthcare announced this morning that in an interview that the children may not return to schools until September, even until September.
Okay.
The restrictions imposed by the Czech government will definitely not end sooner than at Easter. That's for sure. The minister also said that the Czech Republic or the country will cope with this pandemic for months. So there is a possibility that the schools will be closed until end of June, and then which would mean that the children will return to the schools at beginning of September.
Okay.
But of course, it's possible. Sorry, it's possible that the measures will be timed in the coming days. But we will see. But it will definitely be until Eastern days. That's for sure.
When they already talk about that children will not be able to return possibly to school until September, do you have any information on what this does with people that have to take care of their children, that need to watch their children? How the situation for families and also for when these happen? So is there measures from the government that would support people staying at home and taking care of their children, especially for such a long time?
Yeah, sure. The Ministry of Finance already announced that there will be a, let's say, financial package, which will support the parents which are going, which have to stay at home with their children. And of course, this will be very burdening on the state budget, but definitely a financial package which will in the future help all these parents which have to stay at home with their kids. But sorry, I wanted also to say that, for example, when it comes to parents and to pregnant mothers, the fathers of these kids are not allowed to be present at the birth giving, so in the hospitals.
Right.
So that's maybe in that case there were some comments or sort of negative reaction on this measure, because of course every father wants to be present, but it's another measure how to cope with the spread of the disease when it comes to hospitals. So I think it's quite understandable. But there was a financial package, which of course will cost a lot of money, the Czech state. But as every country in Europe, and not only in Europe, the Czech Republic has to deal with this situation as best as they can. So
do you have numbers on registered confirmed cases? how many are infected and how many are recovering from this?
As of today, the number of coronavirus positively tested persons in the Czech Republic is exceeded already 900 people.
Okay.
Of course, most of them in Prague, in the capital, and in surroundings. I mean, in central Bohemia.
Yeah.
But there are also cases, for example, in Moravia. Quite high number. I think it's around 150. But in comparison, for example, to Austria,
Yeah.
the number is still quite low.
Yeah.
So
there are new numbers from Austria that have been published at 3 o'clock, where they have now 2,814 people that are sick.
so in comparison to that, it's quite low number.
But
And you also asked who recovered already. I think it's only 5% recovered from the disease.
That's also very low in Austria yet. I mean, of course, the time of the sickness can be up to like 2 weeks, and it takes some time to recover.
Sure.
But nevertheless, it's only 9 people in Austria as of 3 o'clock today. Would you say that these comparatively lower numbers are due to measures that have been put into place with completely closing the border, or is it rather that there's less testing, because that also seems to be a problem in some countries if you have information on that?
I think at this moment there are only like 18 or 20 places where you can be tested on the coronavirus, which is quite a low number. Definitely, it would be better if there are more places where you can be tested on this coronavirus. But I think that the impact which these measures putting into place by the government, the consequences of these measures are going to be seen next week or the week after next week. I think the impact of these measures we can see in the future. Not, but definitely all these measures will definitely have an impact on the spread of the virus, and yeah, depends also on how the situation will proceed when it comes to this. I think in German it's called pendlers or shuttlers, or I don't know how to say it in English. Maybe because there are many people working, for example, in Austria or in Germany, who are working. Many Czech people working in Germany and in Austria which are like crossing the borders on the daily basis, and of course in these areas, I mean like South Moravia, South Bohemia, West Bohemia, the spread of the coronavirus is a little bit higher, and people, or even in the Czech government, say that the spread of this virus is caused by these people, that they are still crossing the borders and therefore spreading the virus also in these areas. So, because right now the German and Austrian have need to have a one book where you have a stamp from your employer, which says that you are employed in Austria or in Germany with the relevant stamp and signature, and then you have also crossing of the border, and when you can easily still cross the borders. But I think in the government will also cancel this option, and then also the people who are working abroad will have to stay at home. So, yeah.
Now, you wrote last year a policy paper on the demonstrations against Babiš against has been taking place. You called it that Czechia needs to urgently unfinished business, and there have been quite huge numbers of demonstrations been going on in last autumn. This is, of course, now no longer possible.
Exactly.
How would you assess, on the one side, the affection of the virus and the reaction of the government on the popularity of Babiš? And would you say that there is a possibility that once the situation is under control, that we will see these demonstrations returning, or is this the of that movement? And what would this in the end mean for Babiš? Is he eventually going to exploit the situation where you can say, well, we just prolong emergency measures to actually prevent these type of anti-government protests?
First of all, I would like to say that I'm not a big fan of Babiš as a person, but of course, all these demonstrations which were organized by the Million Moments movement were postponed, not cancelled. Like, yes, at this very moment cancelled, but postponed. They will definitely take place in the future. But when it comes to reaction of the government on the coronavirus and all these measures, I have to assess positive. Government reacted quick and with quite hard measures, also in comparison to other, let's say, Central European countries or even to Western European countries. So very quickly and quite soon when it comes to development of the spread, developments very positively. And when it comes to opinion of the population on the Czech government, I think even if someone is like or has a anti-Babiš approach or anti-Babiš, we can also say that the government is doing a good job. They have this emergency group of people. They are holding meetings couple times a day. They press meetings for the press and also to inform the people every day, even sometimes 2 times, 3 times a day. So I think the Czech government is doing quite a good job. Of course, there is, as I already mentioned, there is this big shortage of medical equipment, but it relates actually to every country in Europe. And yeah, maybe there is a small little criticism on the issue of these face masks or respirators, that we are that this medical equipment is coming from China right now. So there is a bit quite a criticism that we amongst the question is where we nobody has these face masks, but there is a criticism. Also Slovakia, or I think even Poland, are also seeking the face mask and the respirators on the side of China. So, but this criticism arises from the situation which was in the Czech Republic before the coronavirus spread it, and the friendship of the Czech president with the Chinese diplomats and with the Chinese government in general. So maybe that's the reason why there is this criticism right now.
Okay.
But of course, the government can do the best on the governmental side. This crisis will definitely in the Czech Republic, and let's see. I think it's it's too soon to assess how big economic are going to be there in place for the Czech Republic and for Europe in general. Everyone, the situation show us that the consequences when it comes to economy will be huge and enormous. Already now, I saw that the exchange rate between the Czech crown and euro is like 2 weeks ago 25.2 or 0.5, and today I saw it's 27.2. So yeah, so the increase is really big. It's almost like 2 crowns on 1 euro, which is really huge increase. And many people have to stay at home. Of course, all these shops, all factories in the Czech Republic were closed down. Also, there was also economy. There was a small criticism on Babiš because he, of course, didn't want to close the biggest factory in the Czech Republic when it comes to car production, Škoda Auto in Mladá Boleslav, in to the Prague, but of course the health utmost priority also for the Czech government closed down. But in that case, in case of Škoda car production, the factory was actually closed down not because of the reaction of the Czech government, but also because from the initiative of the owner of this factory, which is Volkswagen Group from Germany, because they are closing all factories, not only in Czech Republic but also in Slovakia, Spain, Italy, and so on.
Okay. So in the end, you would say that Babiš, who is not only compared by others, by also comparing himself a bit to Donald Trump. I remember last year at the Globsec Bratislava Forum, he was asked for one sentence. He wants to be remembered for his for being prime minister, and he said, "Make the Czech Republic great again." Yeah? So there's obviously this sort of not only relationship, but maybe some sort of admiration. But apparently he is able to handle the situation much better than when we look at crisis communication that is coming out of the White House at the moment.
Yeah. I would also assess this like that. But maybe we can say that maybe in Babiš's view, the priority is still the economy, because I'm sad that the economy is important and that the people should go to work no matter the circumstances. But of the economy is for him still important, and yeah, we could see it also in the case of Škoda factory, that he didn't want to close it down, but from the initiative of the German factory was at the end closed down. So yeah, it's for him the economy is the Czech economy is still important, and as you can see already now, I saw some prognosis or analysis of the future development in the Czech Republic, because we had the lowest unemployment in the European Union. So the numbers are changing a lot right now, and it's foreseen that the unemployment is going to be almost or more even percent, which is quite high number in the case of Czech Republic at the end of the year. So I think the most important consequences this crisis is going to have, apart of course from health care issues and health issues of the population, are the economic consequences. Because I think from these economic shocks and from the situation where only of but
Yeah. Do you know if this is in primarily a problem also because people will have to return to the Czech Republic and can no longer work abroad? Because normally it's those workers that work in a different country that are laid off and then come back and then pose an additional challenge on the state budget, or is this mainly because of the situation within the country?
it's mainly due to the situation within the country that if you have to close down factories and all production for a couple of weeks or even for a couple of months, of course this has big consequences for the state economy. And from my own personal perspective, I sense that the Czech people can work also abroad in the months to come. I'm staying in Vienna, so yeah, of course, as I said, the consequences will be tremendous and enormous, and let's see fix all this. But to this issue, I would also add that the Czech Minister of Finance already also announced how they are going to deal to provide. Just a second, let me look. I have the number right here. Yeah, they are going to provide almost 200 billion Czech crowns for all these factories and to support all these factories and shops and other facilities in order to handle with this situation to recover the Czech state economy. And and just to make a picture, how much is it? The deficit of the Czech state budget was estimated for about 40 billion Czech crowns. And now the estimated deficit is going to be around 200 billion. So that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And let's see how the Czech economy works in the future. But for sure, this coronavirus crisis has already now terrible consequences for small and medium enterprises, because are even on the edge of bankruptcy right now. So yeah, let's see how the situation will proceed.
Well, we at the IDM, of course, hope that you will stay and will take everything that we can do to be able. Yeah, the Czech government is not really known to be a very cooperative European Union member. Do you see that there is a bit more coordination going on, a bit more willingness to cooperate on a European level at the moment, or is it rather going to be the opposite? That it's going to be even more Czech Republic first and Europe second, or even third?
I think that's the most important question is which issue is going to be the subject of the discussion. Of course, when it comes to recovering the economies, there will be definitely cooperation, not only in the transnational formats as Visegrad or similar formats. I think for the Union, I think because one Czech ministry already said that the Green Deal, which was announced by the European Union, is like utopia right now, because we can't reach all these all these limits which were proposed in this Green Deal, because right now the Czech economy or the Czech state needs money for the recovering from this crisis. So I think when it comes to cooperation in the framework of this Green Deal, for instance, I think it will be very difficult to cooperate, for example,
Hmm.
with the Czech Republic. But I think it relates also to Poland or to Slovakia or
Hmm.
to Hungary. So in that case, but as I said, it depends on the subject of the discussion. But when it comes to these eco things and measures and so on, there will be definitely difficult to find agreement with the Czech government in the
Hmm.
future.
Okay. Maybe a last question, as the situation in the development of this virus, it's also crucial how the healthcare system can cope with many cases similarly at the same time. Yeah? Um, and since you mentioned your girlfriend and she's working in she's a trained healthcare professional in the Czech Republic, maybe
Yeah.
do you have also information on how the situation in the hospitals is looking like in the Czech Republic? Are they also trying to put to increase the capacities of ICU available beds, and how dire would it be for the healthcare system if the numbers which would increase exponentially?
As I said, of course, there is a huge shortage on this medical equipment,
Mm-hmm.
but the situation in that case is getting better because of the equipment distributing from the China's side. There were already many airplanes landed in Prague with all these equipments, but already now the staff at the hospitals and other medical facilities are already now really tired,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in the future the situation will not get better. I think even worse because the number is still increasing. The number of the positively tested
Mm-hmm.
people is still increasing. So I think, yeah, in that case, for all medical staff, for all policemen, for all firemen, the situation will be difficult in the weeks to come. And I don't want to be too much negative, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the situation is not going to be better.
Okay. So, Daniel, as a final sentence on this, maybe what we can say is people should obey the measures,
Yeah,
be critical towards governments and their intentions. But at the moment, the most important thing is that we flatten the curve and that we stay at home and that we
exactly.
work with these formats that hopefully work better than the first time. But from what I have as a feedback so far, it seemed to have worked much better. Thank you, Daniel, for doing this. I wish your family and your friends in the Czech Republic all the best, that the measures will hopefully help to alleviate the situation a bit, and that we afterwards return to the good corporations, that we can open the borders again. We will stay in contact, and whoever is online or watching it afterwards, subscribe to our channel. I put it somewhere there. I will try to figure this out, maybe here. Subscribe to our channel. We're gonna continue this format. We're gonna see that we will have other target countries of IDM covered, and hopefully can continue with this interesting information. Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank
Yeah,
you everyone who
yeah. Thank you.
Until next time.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for having me today, and also thank for everyone who were watching us on our live stream. And please take care of yourself, all of you. See you.